guys, we are back and we have the provisional findings from the CMA, the UK Market Authority, on the Xbox Activision Blizzard deal. So this got published this morning where I am, I believe. So I woke up, it was pretty much the first thing I saw, the first thing I'm reading. So let's go through their press release. Microsoft's Activision deal could harm UK gamers. A CMA investigation has provisionally concluded that Microsoft's proposed acquisition of Activision could result in higher prices, fewer choices, or less innovation for UK gamers. So that's the headline. We'll read the article, but right away, higher prices. As we know, Xbox did raise the prices on their first-party games starting this year, but they were not the first company to do this. Sony was the first company to do this, and Sony was the company trying to fight this deal, or are still trying to fight this deal, because this is an official decision. Doesn't mean the deal isn't going to go through, but it definitely makes it harder with these remedies that they are asking Xbox to do. Fewer choices. I mean, we are seeing how Xbox has given more choices to gamers overall with their ecosystem, so I don't understand that one. And less innovation. I mean, we'll see. I don't think that would occur. I don't think that it would create less competition. I think there would be more companies that they're trying to compete with Call of Duty, and now having that opportunity where they could put a game out on every single platform if Xbox were deciding to keep Call of Duty off of other platforms, of which they obviously aren't going to be trying to do, because they've already said that they've offered 10-year deals to the likes of Nintendo and Steam and to PlayStation. But it says here, an in-depth investigation, or an in-depth independent investigation provisionally finds deal raises concerns about cloud and console gaming. So cloud is one that always seemingly is coming up because Xbox and Microsoft are the leaders in cloud gaming with Xbox Cloud Gaming and Azure. But we've seen other companies try to get in and compete with Xbox. Companies that definitely could, like Google Stadia, they just weren't able to create a service that was as enticing as Xbox Game Pass. I don't think that means that no company's ever going to be able to compete with Xbox Cloud Gaming. Merger could make Microsoft even stronger in cloud gaming, stifling competition in this growing market and harming UK gamers who cannot afford expensive consoles. This point is the most just absurd, I think, because what Xbox is trying to do here with Xbox Game Pass and Xbox Cloud Gaming is completely get rid of the need to afford an expensive console. And you have Sony and PlayStation on the other side who are opposing this deal, the biggest company opposing this deal, who are continuously trying to make sure that the market stays in the current state that it is in, which is you have to afford an expensive console in order to play games. You have to. There's no choice with their console exclusives. There's no way around it as of right now. Now, will they expand out and make the choices where you can play games via the cloud, play games via PC on day one, play games in a subscription service on any device? I truly believe PlayStation is going to do that. I think that is their long game. And they're trying to make sure that this deal doesn't go through, because if it does go through, it will be even harder than it currently is right now for them to be able to catch up to Xbox, because they are behind the ball. They failed to try to evolve in, they tried to stay within their current strategy, which is the console exclusivity, which I don't think is going to be the strategy going forward for the next 10, 15, 20 years. So they know they're behind, and this deal is going to put them even more behind. So this point is actually hilarious to read. Deal could also harm UK gamers by weakening the important rivalry between Xbox and PlayStation gaming consoles. So right here, they're saying they care about this console war thing. They really want PlayStation to continue to thrive, and this deal potentially will hurt them a little bit, and they don't want that to happen. So a CMA investigation has provisionally concluded that Microsoft's proposed acquisition of Activision could result in higher prices, fewer choices, or less innovation for UK gamers. Provisional findings from the Competition and Markets Authority following a wide-ranging investigation conducted over the last 5 months to understand the market and potential impact of the deal. This has included holding site visits and hearings to hear directly from business leaders at Microsoft and Activision, analyzing over 3 million internal documents from the two businesses to understand their views on the market, commissioning an independent survey of UK gamers, and gathering evidence from a range of other gaming console providers, game publishers, and cloud gaming service providers. So they did talk to the companies. I think that was one of the main complaints. I'm not sure if this is saying the same thing here, but I think that was one of the main complaints with the FTC, was the FTC didn't even give Microsoft a chance to explain their side of this deal, to explain why they think it should go through. at least the CMA did have site visits and hearings to hear directly from Microsoft and Activision. So that's a little bit better of a process so far, if I'm understanding this correctly. Competition in the supply of cloud gaming services. The CMA provisionally found that being able to offer popular games will be important for cloud gaming providers. I mean, of course, this is why I think one of the main reasons Stadia died. They just didn't have enough good games in there, enough stuff that people wanted, especially when you took a look at, do I sign up to Google Stadia or do I sign up to Xbox Game Pass, which they're offering, their catalog is just significantly better. But Google, another massive company that absolutely has the ability to go out and offer better games in their services, they didn't run it properly. It had nothing to do, in my opinion, with Xbox cloud gaming and Microsoft stifling competition within the cloud gaming market for the reason as to why they shut down. The evidence available to the CMA currently indicates that Microsoft would find it commercially beneficial to make Activision's games exclusive to its own cloud gaming service or only available on other services under materially worse conditions. So that's an interesting point, because I do think that Call of Duty being exclusive to Xbox Cloud Gaming and to Xbox Game Pass gives Xbox a major advantage in the subscription service, that it will be difficult for these companies to be able to get a title as big as that to be able to compete specifically with that game itself. But I don't in any way see how this would stop competition from trying to be able to compete with Xbox Cloud Gaming. I mean, you look at PlayStation themselves right now, and I know this kind of goes counter to what I just said, but God of War Ragnarok sold already 11 million units in 3 months. Now, that's still a very small percentage of the actual PlayStation install base, but it is still a major draw. It's a very well-known IP. Whether you're a big gamer or not, you know God of War. It's similar to Call of Duty in that sense, I would say. You know Call of Duty whether you're a big gamer or not. You know God of War whether you're a big gamer or not. You take God of War, you put it right into the PlayStation subscription service. It's going to really help them compete in the subscription sphere, and it will also just increase those subscription numbers greatly for just people wanting to jump in and play that game. You put it into extra, you put it into premium, and you have competition right there. I mean, PlayStation has their answer right in front of them. They just are refusing to do it because they want to continue down the lines of the console exclusivity and closing off the ecosystem, closing off the access to these games. They want to siphon you into PlayStation 5. They want to make sure that you are locked into the PSN for where you purchase all of your gaming stuff, and they are making the most money. That's their goal. That's what they want. And Xbox gives you the opportunity to play in an ecosystem on any device, where you have that chance to get distracted if you're playing Xbox Cloud Gaming or Xbox Game Pass on PC to jump over to Steam. Like, there is that opportunity. Whereas with PlayStation, you're on the PS5, you're solely gaming on that. The chances are that you're going to be playing on other things, take your attention away from their ecosystem, is, I would say, significantly lower. And that's where the thing of choice comes in, that Xbox has done so well for gamers this generation. This deal would essentially help that. It would help the service grow, it would help cloud gaming grow, but the CMA doesn't see it like that. They also say here, Microsoft already accounts for an estimated 60 to 70% of global cloud gaming services, and also has other important strengths in cloud gaming, from owning Xbox to leading PC operating system with Windows, and a global cloud computing infrastructure, Azure, and Xbox Cloud Gaming. And specifically on the Azure front, this has already been addressed by Microsoft. They mentioned when the CMA voiced their concerns about Azure, they say, this is an article from GameIndustry.biz. This was back in October. And it says here, Microsoft believes the CMA's concerns here are flawed, as currently Microsoft's Xbox Cloud Gaming service does not use Azure and does not stream games from PC hardware. So, I mean, that could all change in the future, of course. But as of right now, what they're saying here isn't actually occurring. They're not using PCs to stream these games. We know they have Series X's in their server stacks, and they're not using Azure for cloud gaming. So they obviously didn't take that into account with these concerns. The CMA provisionally found that buying one of the world's most important game publishers would reinforce this strong position and substantially reduce the competition that Microsoft would otherwise face in the cloud gaming market in the UK. This could alter the future of gaming, potentially harming UK gamers, particularly those who cannot afford or do not want to buy an expensive gaming console or gaming PC. This is absolutely hilarious. This is where I get so confused with these government agencies. Are they just blinders on, they're not looking at the gaming industry at all, because the reality of the situation here is that the stronger PlayStation is in the gaming market, the less competition there will actually be, and you will be forced out to go out and buy a PlayStation 5. The more competition, the faster it will force PlayStation to evolve and to give more access to their games to more platforms and make it easier and cheaper for people to play. That's what competition does. The less competition right now, which, I mean, PlayStation can close off their ecosystem. People are still going out and buying the PS5. I mean, they just sold 7.1 million PlayStation 5s in their last quarter. And you take a look at things like crossplay. Remember the Epic versus Apple case? PlayStation had to be forced. They really had to be forced in order to be okay with being pro-consumer with crossplay. They wanted to get paid for all of the users coming from PSN playing on other networks or playing with people from other networks. It's like they're just completely ignoring all of that. And then you look at the Xbox side of things, and since they launched Xbox Game Pass, yeah, it's obviously a brilliant business move. They're trying to make as much money as possible, but it has democratized gaming in a way that we are able to play so many games with paying such little money, less money than we've ever paid, especially now when you look at the increase in prices of games. Like here in Canada where I live, games are $90. They're over $100 after tax in Ontario specifically. So it's like, it's insane the pricing you have to pay now just to access one singular game. And they're saying that it's because development costs have gone up, but there are more people playing games than ever before. There are more people spending money within the video game industry than ever before. They absolutely do not need to raise the prices of their video games. They make more than enough money to cover their costs. And by making subscription, by making these styles of ways to access games more restricted, by giving PlayStation the power to be able to continue with what they're doing, I think it's going to be worse off for the average gamer who just wants to sit down, play a catalog of games, doesn't have the money to go out and spend thousands of dollars every month or hundreds of dollars every month. I think that's going to hurt gaming in general. And the UK somehow seems to think that this deal going through will make it more expensive for gaming on console and for gaming on PC, which again, it makes just no sense. It's like they haven't followed anything, even though they said they've spent months looking into this thing. Competition in the supply of consoles. The CMA provisionally found that a small number of key games, including Call of Duty, Activision's flagship game, play an important role in driving competition between consoles. I mean, it does play. It's a game that is on top of the sales list every single year. So yes, of course, Call of Duty is a huge game. That's one thing that you can't argue with. No matter how you look at this deal, it is true. Call of Duty is a massive game changer. If Xbox does get Call of Duty as first party, it is a game changer. It will very much help their business and will incentivize people to look at Xbox now first before looking at PlayStation when it comes to Call of Duty specifically. But if you remember, PlayStation has had the marketing rights for Call of Duty for a number of years now, and they have used that opportunity to give exclusive content to PlayStation gamers and really try to bolster their market, their side of the market themselves. And now, if this deal doesn't go through, if you're Xbox and Microsoft, you have billions of dollars in cash to spend. You're probably going to see more things like this, which I think in general, that harms competition more so than putting games into a subscription service. The evidence available to the CMA, including data on how Microsoft measures the value of customers in the ordinary course of business, currently indicates that Microsoft will find it commercially beneficial to make Activision games exclusive to its own consoles. Are they talking specifically Call of Duty or just everything else here? Because we've already seen that Xbox offer 10-year deals for Call of Duty. I mean, we've talked about that multiple times, so I'm not sure what they mean there. CMA's provisional findings note that this strategy of buying gaming studios and making their content exclusive to Microsoft's platforms has been used by Microsoft following several previous acquisitions of game studios. So they're going to do it with Starfield, they're going to do it with Elder Scrolls 6, but all the legacy stuff with the Bethesda acquisition is staying on PlayStation, staying on Nintendo. And they also have kept Minecraft on everything, which is a game that is more comparable than anything else Xbox has purchased to Call of Duty. You know what I mean? Like, that's a game that if they really wanted to disrupt the market, they would have taken Minecraft off every platform and you could only play it on Windows and Xbox, but they didn't. So I guess they didn't look at that part. The CMA provisionally found that weakening competition by restricting the access that other platforms have to Activision's games could substantially reduce the competition between Xbox and PlayStation in the UK, in turn harming UK gamers. Xbox and PlayStation compete closely with each other at present, and access to the most important content like Call of Duty is an important part of that competition. Reducing this competition between Microsoft and Sony could result in all gamers seeing higher prices, reduced range, lower quality, and worse service in gaming consoles over time. So I guess they're really focused on the console. They're trying to protect the console market. So they go over some other things here of what their job is and why they're making this decision. But what the most interesting thing here at the end of the day is what they want, the remedies that they want. And here are the remedies. So they say here, at this stage, the CMA has identified the following possible structural remedies: requiring a partial divestiture of Activision Blizzard. This may be divestiture of the business associated with Call of Duty, divestiture of the Activision segment of Activision Blizzard, the Activision segment, which would include the business associated with Call of Duty, divestiture of the Activision segment and the Blizzard segment of Activision Blizzard Incorporated, which would include the business associated with Call of Duty and World of Warcraft, among other titles. So they're effectively wanting Xbox to sell off Call of Duty and not make this first party, which, I mean, is something that Xbox may consider, but they did offer the 10-year deal. So now we're at a stage, like, we don't know what's going to happen here. Is Microsoft looking at this and thinking, okay, we see these remedies and we can comply to these remedies, or we can negotiate and come up with some solutions. We'll go back to the drawing table and come up with some solutions to satisfy the CMA so that they push this deal through. If we remember, this is from IDAS a couple of days ago, and it looks like we hit scenario C here, which is the deal is anti-competitive but can be fixed through remedies. Microsoft, ABK, and third parties will have at least 21 days to comment on the provisional findings. So that gives you a timeline, 21 days from February 8th to come back with some remedies or some reply to the provisional findings. A notice of possible remedies will also be published, where the CMA will initially propose remedies to address anti-competition concerns, and we just read those three there. Microsoft, ABK, and third parties will have at least 7 days to comment on the remedies notice. Once all responses have been considered, including a remedies working paper where the parties and the CMA will have been discussing options for remedies, the CMA will finalize its report and announce its decision. So again, to be clear, this is provisional findings. This does not mean the deal has been blocked. This is the CMA coming out with their initial thoughts, and now they're saying they want some remedies, essentially wanting Xbox to sell off Call of Duty. So IDA says here, this is the most complex and uncertain scenario because depending on the remedies proposed and the ones that Microsoft and ABK are willing to accept, the deal could go through or be abandoned. Obviously, this isn't the best case scenario for Xbox and Microsoft. They probably, I mean, they obviously would have wanted this deal to get approved without remedies, but we'll see what happens. I mean, the interesting thing here is that I didn't see any mention. I didn't read through the entire provisional fine document. It's just very long, but we already heard about the 10-year deal, right? We already heard that Xbox had offered a 10-year deal to PlayStation and to Nintendo and to Steam. So I guess this, for the CMA, that isn't good enough. So I don't know what else Xbox would be willing to do. At this point, it's like, do they just continue with remedies, or is Call of Duty so important to Xbox? They've been saying this entire time, it isn't about Call of Duty, it is about mobile. And now they'll be tested on that claim. They will be tested on that claim. To them, if it isn't about Call of Duty as much as a lot of people believe it is, then they should have no problem with some bigger remedies, I guess, for the actual IP itself. But I guess they at the point where they choose, do they continue with this, or do they just drop out of this deal and they take those billions of dollars and invest it in doing other things, like more anti-competitive things they would probably end up doing, which is stuff that PlayStation does, which is like the third-party timed exclusive stuff, like with Final Fantasy 16, exclusive content like with Hogwarts Legacy. They could literally now have free reign with all of that money to go do all of that type of stuff, which I hope that they don't do, because I just think it's bad for the gaming industry and for gamers in general. PlayStation does it. I don't like it whatsoever. What they're doing with Call of Duty with exclusive content, and again, Hogwarts Legacy again on the PS5 has like an exclusive quest, all this stuff that we're going to see more of, I think, from the Xbox side of things now, if this deal doesn't go through, or they go out and they start buying a bunch of smaller publishers. I've said this many times. To me, this deal is about Game Pass and getting games day one into Game Pass that you generally would have had to pay full price for. And if that isn't going to happen, if they have to make all of these remedies where that those games aren't going to be coming to Game Pass anymore, then I don't even care about this deal. I say go invest the money somewhere else. That's what I say. I say go and try to find some better deals. Go to get some new IPs. Like look at Hi-Fi Rush. If they can invest, make more games like that, I would much rather that than this deal to go through. But we'll see what happens. At the end of the day, it'll be good if it goes through. If it doesn't go through, it'll be disappointing for some. But it will also be what's the next step now? Because I don't think Xbox is just going to take that money and spend it elsewhere. Xbox isn't going anywhere. I know the people may think that this could be the end of Xbox or some crazy stuff like that, but they've had a successful generation this year. The video game industry is growing, and we've seen Microsoft invest and be more confident within gaming. They want this to be a big part of Microsoft. So they'll take that money and they'll probably put it somewhere else, which could end up being just as good or even better than this deal. But that's it for me. Let me know what you guys think about the provisional findings of the CMA. You enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you like daily content, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video. Hit the notification bell, all that type of stuff. And thank you guys for watching. Thank you for your support. I'll catch you guys in the next video.